Welcome back. Now for your 5-day weather forecast, we go outside to Mayreen Khan.
As you've probably felt today, the crazy winter feel has finally started to set in, and you probably don't want to leave your winter attire at home. Now for this week's weather forecast. Today had a cold, wet start, but the afternoon is more promising with a sunny outlook and a high of 6 degrees, dropping to a low of -1. Thursday is much more pleasant. It'll be warmer with 10 degrees and a low of 4. Friday will be windy, but slightly warmer with a high of 12 and low of 6. The weekend is less friendly. It'll be dark and rainy. We'll have a high of 12 degrees, which will move into Saturday with a low of 5. Sunday it'll be 9 degrees, sinking to a low of 3. Use that Saturday to get those errands done because that rainy Sunday will make it a difficult task. That's all for your weather. Now back to Catherine and Aaron in the studio.
Thanks, Maureen. Humber's North Campus is celebrating the 3rd annual Aboriginal Powwow. The powwow features different categories of dancing, including men's and women's traditional and fancy dancing, and women's jingle dancing. The performers came from the GTA and nearby native reserves. Humber President John Davis was in attendance. Humber Elder and Manager of Aboriginal Services, Shelley Charles, says the event is held so students can gain knowledge of Aboriginal history and culture. November marks Aboriginal Education Month.
The Egyptian community in Toronto is taking a stand. Dozens rallied at Yonge and Dundas Square in support of the uprising in Egypt last night. This comes after 4 days of ongoing clashes of violence in Tahrir Square. The protesters are demanding the country's military rulers step down immediately. This rally was just one of the string of protests held around the world.
Pickering is the latest municipality to pass the shark fin ban. Brantford was the first Canadian city to institute the ban, with Toronto following suit last month, sparking proposals in Mississauga, Oakville, and Ottawa. Shark finning is a practice that involves cutting off a shark's fin and throwing the shark back into the water.
James Murdoch has resigned from the boards of several UK newspapers controlled by News International. The son of Rupert Murdoch will keep his position as chairman of the News International division. His resignation from the board comes in the midst of the news of the world phone hacking scandal. Last week, Murdoch testified for the second time in front of a British parliamentary committee investigating the scandal.
An agreement has been reached to end the 33-year reign of Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh. Saleh appeared in the Saudi Arabian capital this morning to sign the handover agreement proposed last spring by the 6-member Gulf Cooperation Council. The plan offered Saleh and his family immunity from prosecution if he transferred power to the current vice president. Saleh's refusal to sign the agreement sparked political deadlock and tension on the streets. Tens of thousands of anti-government protesters have been calling for Saleh's resignation for months.
Global use of landmines this year is the highest it's been since 2004. That's according to a report from the International Campaign to Ban Landmines. The report says Israel, Libya, Syria, and Myanmar are all guilty of laying the explosives. Landmines that caused almost 4,200 casualties in 2010, a 5% increase from the year before.
Russian President Dmitry Medvedev is threatening to deploy new missiles in Europe and put arms control on hold. He says Russia will aim its missiles at U.S. defense sites in Europe if Washington ignores its concerns about a proposed missile shield. Moscow says it considers the missile shield in Europe to be a threat to its nuclear forces. President Barack Obama, however, says the shield is meant to be a deterrent against Iran.
In Finland, a triple murderer has escaped prison for the 6th time. Nikita Fuganthini left a low-security prison a month earlier than his scheduled release. He was convicted of the 1988 murders of a father, mother, and son in Sweden. Fuganthini was transferred to Finland to fulfill his life sentence. He escaped 4 times before prison officials commuted his sentence and let him out on parole for supposedly changing his ways. Parole violations have landed him back in jail twice, and he's escaped both times.
And now with your sports news, here's Caitlin Dakari.
Thanks, guys. Here's what's happening in the sports world today. Both Humber's men's and women's volleyball teams beat Redeemer College last night on home court. The men's team won the game 3-1, and Terrell Bramwell reached the all-time kill record of 36, with a total of 38 points. The The women swept their game, winning the first 3 sets. Michelle Overzet was player of the game with 11 points and 9 kills. In NHL news, the Toronto Maple Leafs moved into first place of the Northeast Division last night with another blowout win, this time against Tampa Bay Lightning. Tyler Bozak scored 2 goals and assist, and Tim Connolly also scored and had 2 assists, leading the Leafs to a 7-1 victory over Tampa Bay. In other games, Los Angeles won against St. Louis 3-2, and the Oilers beat Nashville 6-2. It's a big night tonight for hockey with 13 games set to face off. The Winnipeg Jets are in Washington, the Montreal Canadiens play at Carolina Hurricanes, the Calgary Flames face off against the Detroit Red Wings, and the Vancouver Canucks are in Colorado. MLB action, the league has signed a new labor contract. The deal guarantees 5 years without strike. Other changes including testing for human growth hormone, adding 2 more teams to the playoffs, and moving Houston Astros to the American League. The Canadian Olympic team is getting ready for the London Summer Olympics. Earlier this week, the team debuted in Mississauga. Humber reporter Lindsay Tucci went to speak with some of the athletes.
Swimmers, cyclists and gymnasts were among the London 2012 Olympic athletes who were formally introduced on Monday. Veteran diver Alexandre Despatie has won silver in the 3-meter springboard at the last 2 Olympics. He says his team hopes to be top 12 in London.
We have a very strong team, lots of veterans, lots of people that have been there before that know how to perform when it's time to. Lots of rookies too, but that are already established athletes.
Experienced rower Adrienne Morin says this will be her last Olympic Games, but she's looking forward to the excitement on the water.
The other added feature for the London Games for me is that rowing is a very British traditional sport, and so the legends of rowing have come out of Great Britain, and it will be really neat to be doing that sport in their country that already has an immense fan base.
Canadian athletes showed their true talent at the last Olympics 2 years ago on home turf. Now they set the bar high, and these athletes are hoping to get on the podium as well. Lindsay Tucci, Humber News.
That's all for your sports news today. Back to Aaron and Catherine at the desk.
Thanks, Caitlin. After the break, we'll get the latest in entertainment from Tavia Castle.
The Throne has hit Toronto, the Muppets are back in action, and an Oscar award-winning movie is turning into a musical. Can you guess which one? I'll have your answer in your entertainment update.